Good evening. I'm Carla Baer, Chair of your Board of Directors. It is my enormous privilege and pleasure to call this 186th annual meeting of the UU Urban Ministry to order. And I invite our Senior Minister and Executive Director, the Reverend Mary Margaret Earle, to share opening words of wisdom.
Thank you, Carla. Before we begin, I did want to invite our delegates who are gathered to register your presence here. And so you can go to the chat and enter your name and the congregation from which you are hailing. We're going to use that as we would use a sign-in. So we'd invite you to just take a moment to type that in. You'll have another moment a bit later to start chatting too. So it's great to see some names pop up, and everybody can do that just for a moment, and then we'll know who all is here with us this evening. So I see all these wonderful familiar names popping in. Thank you so much, everyone. Really good to see these names. So as you type in and we see these familiar friends and some new friends join us, I wanted to welcome you into this gathering where we build a beloved community and knit connection no matter what the circumstances, by letter, by phone and Zoom, and by heart and intention. And yes, one day again face to face, but for now, welcome into community perfect, just as we are and as this is. Welcome into this moment in a long history, the 186th annual meeting of the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. Welcome into this community that is learning and growing, a community called to have the eyes of a child, looking anew at the world we've inherited with its beauty and its brokenness. Welcome into a moment when we seize the opportunities before us to claim our potential, to lock hands, to reach across what divides, to move into the future, building something better. Welcome, you who give and share and dream and hope and struggle and try. Welcome as we gather together again, rooted and committed and at the cusp of something new. Welcome. This time, when we gathered last year, I had not expected that we would gather once again this way. There is so much that we did not expect this time last year. We didn't expect that the families we serve in our domestic violence shelter still would be housed in short-term rentals, or that our workforce development program would have another graduation by Zoom, or that the young people in our after-school program would, instead of leading historic walking tours of our campus, they would craft videos telling the stories of historic Roxbury figures. But here we are, riding what feels like the softening waves of a tsunami year, a year of loss and hardship and disruption. We gather acknowledging those we lost and those who were sick and hurt economically and separated from loved ones for a long, long time. And we gather having witnessed hard truths revealed about racial injustice across our city and our country and our world. And we gather celebrating how we persevered and innovated, how we learned new technology and witnessed how creative we can be. And we gather looking ahead with hope for all that is possible in the work that we do together. One of the gifts of this annual gathering is the gift of reflection. I arrive at this liminal moment grateful for the work of those who have helped the UU Urban Ministry in our most unusual year. I am grateful for our extraordinary staff who brought their gifts to bear when we most needed them. Staff members who reached out in new ways to our Roxbury neighborhood, who found ways to support and nurture program participants using technology, who forged pathways for sharing critical justice issues in our community conversations by webinar, who created platforms to amplify the work of Roxbury artists and entrepreneurs. This evening, you will witness a slice of the work the Urban Ministry staff has accomplished, and I hope you will share my appreciation for all they've done. I'm grateful to our donors and our volunteers who ensured that our work continued through this year. They helped sustain all of our programs. They helped us move forward projects that we might have once thought impossible during a shutdown pandemic. Projects like planning for our interior restoration of our meeting house to serve Roxbury. Projects like practicing job interviews with survivors in our Believe in Success program. Projects like continuing to wind our steeple clock. I'm grateful to a brave board of directors that has been willing to lead, to have increasingly hard conversations so that the Urban Ministry can move our work forward in new and essential ways. The board spent hours and months this past year looking deeply into the work that we are called to do to unlock our potential to work for justice in Greater Boston. And I am grateful to you, our delegates and our congregations. Among you are some of our most steadfast champions, helping us live out our UU values in Greater Boston. You have helped us shape our Artist Amplification project, sponsored community conversations, supported Black-owned businesses, and brought news of our work back to your churches. Thank you. Today, you will have the opportunity to vote on a new vision and mission for the Urban Ministry, a vision and a mission that will call on you more than ever to activate our work in your communities. We are all called this evening to acknowledge, to honor, and to celebrate the year out of which we emerge. And we are called to this new moment when the world beckons, when the work of the world beckons. We are called to open our hearts and to roll up our sleeves, to breathe in and exhale and move together into the future. Welcome. And now it is my pleasure to introduce my good colleague, Peter Tam, who arrived at the Urban Ministry in the midst of this pandemic and who has guided our programs, our shelter, our workforce program, our youth program through the most challenging of times with perseverance and grace and wonderful good cheer. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Mary Margaret. Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Tam, and I am the Director of Programs here at the Urban Ministry. It has been a challenging but transformative year with all of our programs, where we have learned how to adapt, adjust, and push the limits of our impact for our programming under these difficult circumstances. It definitely was not easy. We changed programs from a hybrid model to fully remote during the fall and winter as COVID cases increased. The struggles were real. And when it came to internet access and computer literacy, we had to think about our approach and discuss how to continue to create positive experiences for our residents, participants, and young people. Although technology and access was an obstacle in certain aspects, it did allow us to connect people from all around the state. Since we were online, this allowed Believe in Success and Roxbury youth programs to market and recruit participants from throughout the state. We learned the key to all of this was consistency. For our families, participants, young people, and alumni, the world around them was changing, and there were so many things that were uncertain. The best thing that we could do for them was to show up each and every week, and you will hear about that more very soon. Lastly, I want to take this time to thank all of our program staff, especially the ones I got to work with directly, for their dedication and consistency this year. Our programs are only as significant and impactful as those who deliver it. I look forward to preparing for new norms and to further our work in our communities. Now, I would like to introduce Che Gonsalves to give you a little bit more about Roxbury Youth Programs.
Thank you, Peter. Like he just said, my name is Che Gonsalves, and I'm one of 2 coordinators for RYP. I'll be taking the next few minutes to discuss the goals of our program and provide a brief overview of what we've done so far this year. So Roxbury Youth Programs, or RYP for short, is the after-school program for high school age students here at the Urban Ministry. Although our goals and role within the community are constantly evolving to meet the needs of young people, RYP can be broken down into our 4 basic functions: to provide quality and accessible tutoring, to enrich our youth through programming, to assist students during their transition to life after high school, and to support program alumni once they've made that transition. And now that you have a better understanding of our purpose, I can explain each component in more detail. I'll begin with tutoring. At RYP, we currently offer free virtual tutoring sessions to any youth who wish to participate. Our tutors are sourced from colleges and universities around the area, including Boston College, Boston University, and Northeastern. Once they pass Corey and Sori protocol, as well as development training with NOR, they are ready to begin assisting our young people. Students and tutors are matched based on subjects, personalities, and work styles to ensure, as much as we can, that students are being helped in the most effective way possible. While we've offered tutoring in years past, this year was our first year doing it virtually via Zoom. There were definitely some challenges, but we were still able to provide over 200 hours of support to 11 different students. Next comes our after-school programming. Traditionally at RYP, tutoring and enrichment programming were a single entity. Unfortunately, with COVID-19 preventing us from using our space, we were tasked with creating a secondary virtual program for enrichment this year. The result was CLC, or the Community Leadership Core. Our goal with CLC was to find a fun and engaging way to develop young people's skills virtually without making it seem like school or a boring job. The result was a 3 times per week Zoom program that focuses on community engagement, teaching leadership and communication skills, developing project management skills, all while emphasizing the rich history of Roxbury and Boston as a whole. In this program, students participated in virtual activities, conducted research, completed 2 multimedia projects, and were able to engage with other like-minded young people in a safe and encouraging environment. Added benefits to participating in CLC including students being able to earn up to $2,000 via Urban Ministry stipend or SuccessLink paychecks, being able to use their project experience as a resume or portfolio builder, getting to practice new software, and learning more about their neighborhoods and community. In our first year of CLC, we were able to work with 8 different students, 50% of which were new to RIP programming, provide over 150 hours of programming to each student, get students paid, and see all of our seniors get accepted to a 4-year college or university. But that's not to say we didn't face any challenges. Like most virtual environments, we experienced our fair share of technical difficulties, including but not limited to adapting our curriculum to a Zoom space, accommodating students' resources and designing accessible activities, as well as the ever-changing schedules of our young people. In the end, the good outshined the bad. We succeeded in helping our students grow their skills, created beautiful projects, supported them with life outside of the classroom, and created as close-knit of a community as we could. Some highlights from the year include our youth hosting a virtual short film showcase where they were able to share their unique video creations based on Boston historical figures, young people getting the chance to participate in a virtual community panel event focusing on Henry Hampton and his work, and finally, our most recent photo display project where students created museum-style displays highlighting their neighborhoods. In addition to all that, we continue to assist our seniors find funding for higher education through Funderburg Scholars and continue to support alumni with support follow-ups and check-ins, event invitations, as well as job opportunities and recommendations. So that's RIP in a nutshell. But before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to end by saying that even though this was a wild year, we made the best of it at RYP. And I'm incredibly proud of the young people, as well as my coworkers, for making it possible. Now, without any further ado, a student who joined RYP just as I began working here, someone who leads by example and isn't afraid to think outside of the box. She's consistently puts out great work, is kind to everyone, and always has a smile on her face. So, ladies and gentlemen, Tally Giatirani Chandler.
Hello, my name is Tally. I'm a junior at Natick High School through the METCO program. I was in the Roxbury Youth Program last school year through the recommendation of my METCO director, Ms. Clayton. I had already had the experience of working with RIP when I did the tours last school year and loved the people I worked beside and liked my boss Che, so naturally when I heard about CLC, I was interested since I already had previous positive experiences. I was happy when I found out I could do it because in the beginning of the year, I was watching my little cousins since they did full remote and so did I, but their parents still had work. So my days were quite repetitive, but CLC gave me a change of pace, being able to see different faces and do different work from what I was already doing. We worked on various projects that helped advance our work skills along with getting us more connected with our communities. One of the first big ones being our historic multimedia project, where we had to create a 7-minute video on an important figure, location, or event in Boston from the past that still had relevant impact in present times. Che, through our many Zoom sessions, helped us implement different features to learn what makes a well-made, engaging presentation. I decided to do mine on the Boston Tea Party, where I had the challenge of making a video that was engaging while still relying on facts. I'd say it helped me practice my time management skills from putting time aside to finish my research, gather the content, put it together, and finalize the video. We also did a lot of smaller activities and what I'd call mini projects to practice things we'd learned, such as building a puzzle together, but having one person as the leader, telling us how to get it done within a certain time limit given to practice cooperating with our peers and getting more comfortable with each other. We also had a public speaking activity where we had 20 minutes to create a 5-slide presentation. The focus was not on the content, but how we presented it. What I actually liked most about this was that, unlike in other previous situations where I had to present in a school in front of my classmates, where I would usually be super nervous, CLC had established itself as a place where I can comfortably present to my peers without the fear of failure or judgment. Afterward, the members of Che gave great feedback telling us what we did well and what we could work on, bringing attention to things like the speed in which we talk or the volume of our voice. What I also came to appreciate was how community-focused CLC was. I feel like I learned a lot of new things about our community by doing my own research for my topics or listening to my peers present their own research and projects. Our latest focus and work was our neighborhood story photo project, where we had to retell a story from our neighborhood using photographs we took ourselves. I did Arnold Arboretum. Since the main focus was photos we took ourselves, this gave me the excuse to get out of my house and enjoy the air. I took both my mom and grandma with me, and it honestly didn't feel like much of a task for my job since I had fun taking pictures and being out. It was definitely a pleasant change of pace from doing my schoolwork at home every day. I got a lot out of CLC in general. I even made friends with one of my peers where we regularly talk outside of work, which I never would have expected happening since we were working through Zoom. One of the other things I noticed which made CLC a more positive experience was that Che didn't feel like a teacher giving students a bunch of homework, and I felt like he had trust in us to do our work, which felt good. Even in our projects, he let us pick our topics and supported us. He was there anytime to guide us in our work, and I always felt comfortable asking questions or asking for help when I needed it. Overall, CLC was a welcoming, non-judgmental space where everything was a learning experience, and if I could do it again, I would.
Thank you, Tally. Thank you, Che. Next, I would like to introduce Ada Guadalupe, Renewal House Shelter Manager.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was up. Good evening, everybody. In the last year, we have continued to work closely with our resident from the placement due to the coronavirus. We are providing services, financial assistance to 8 families. We also being able to assist two of our current residents who are just waiting for the Section 8 voucher. Which one of them already have the key and she planning to move at the end of this month. We also have 2 residents who moved already at the beginning of the year. So they already are being in their own apartment. With the help of the Franklin Foundation, we was able to renovate our kitchen, which is looking very good and very pretty. And they are gonna, we are gonna be bringing some furniture and other stuff that we need to buy. Also, we was able to paint the bedrooms and the bathroom of the whole place. The shelter looked very nice, and we are thankful to the Franklin Foundation for the help that they provide to us. We had the fortune to take Elise Lemon, which was our intern this year, and she did a wonderful job working with our resident. She provide advocacy and other services for them. As well, she did some proofreading from our document that we have a Renewal house, which is making more easy, you know, for the staff when we had to do intakes or do assessment with the residents. She also worked and create a resource manual for Renewal house, but also are going to be able. The whole agency are going to be able to use it. They have a lot of information about other shelters, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters. They will provide different information about lawyers, pantries, all kinds of information that would be able to, the whole agency will be able to use. That would be benefit for everybody who come to the urban ministry or to Renewal house looking for some services. So in the middle of this, you know, challenges that we have, the pandemic present to us, we was able to provide and adapt and provide some services for everybody. Sometimes people in the community also as former guests, we have worked close to them. We provided with, you know, gift cards for food that they need at that time. And also we was able to abide to the CDC guideline for how to maintain the staff, providing testing only and also providing other safety needs that the resident needed. Thank you very much. Back to Peter.
Thank you, Ada. Next, I would like to introduce Jackie Dabo to talk about Believe in Success. Jackie is our Believe in Success Director.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, everyone. It is with great honor to be here today and to be able to share that after 4 years since launching the Believe in Success program, we have been able to successfully complete 8 total classes. That is a number that we are extremely proud of, especially with a year like no other that we had last year. We were able to completely move remotely and continue with the Believe in Success program. I want to start off by thanking the Believe in Success staff, specifically Christine Dickerson, program coordinator, and Cynthia Arias, case manager in the program, who have just jumped in and we went completely remotely. We had a very short time to plan for the end of our spring semester last year when the pandemic hit in March. And as a team, we were able to completely move everything to remote. And I just can't thank staff enough. I would also like to mention the Techo's Home program, who made it possible for our program participants to continue learning remotely. So Techo's Home provided the Chromebooks for our participants to use. They continue to provide Chromebooks at home for the fall in this year's spring semester as well. I would also like to take this time to thank our many UUM volunteers, specifically Betsy Taylor, who runs our financial mobility class, Barbara Bates, who in the past was with Believe in Success, supporting in our computer class, and this past year was able to come in a different way in the program and run a nature baiting class, which our students just loved. I would also like to give a special thank you to Catherine Collins for also continuing with our mindful classes, which were super critical, especially this year when folks just really needed that space. I would also like to include our endless community members who came in for career panels over Zoom. A special thank you to our 2 social work interns who stepped up in the program and were facilitating classes, meeting with our participants, creating lessons. And a big thank you just goes out to all of them. And to all the Urban Ministry team as well for the ways that you all have supported the Believe in Success program. We had many accomplishments this year. I really want to highlight how we were able to engage our alumni. In the past, alumni engagement through alumni events was something that was challenging for Believe in Success. If you all remember, we had an evaluation committee that was looking into that. And we were planning to launch an alumni program last summer. Fortunately, that didn't take place. However, with us moving to Zoom, we saw that more alumni were able to join our Zoom meetings just to check in, to share what they were up to give updates on struggles that they were facing. There was a lot of rental support that folks needed, things that Believe in Success was also able to support with. So in the past, we would have in-person alumni events where you would see 3 to 4 alumni come. And over Zoom, we were seeing around 10 to 15 participants at a time, which was a major accomplishment for the program. Additionally, something that we are super proud of this spring is alumni being part of our career panels, as well as part of some of our technical classes. And this is an opportunity we're looking to explore more for this summer, is for ways that we can continue to train our former participants so that we can have them as part of our classes moving forward. Last but not least, I also do want to include all of our referring partners for making it possible for us to continue running the Believe in Success program. We had an unprecedented amount of applications, both the fall and the spring semester. So we absolutely want to continue thanking them for their partnership and for assisting in making our program happen. For this year, we are looking forward to continuing to support our alumni community. We're starting to think more about the summer and what that could look like, with offering more recurrent and series of events and workshops, leaning more towards those mindfulness workshops, but also some of those professional development workshops. And I would just like to end by thank you everyone, and also sharing that I will also be transitioning from Believe in Success. I am with the program now up until mid-June, and I just look forward to continuing to plan for the summer until we have a new director on board. So thank you. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, all of our programs. Now I would like to turn it over to Shamika Harrison, our Director of Facilities.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here to speak on my role. I am the Director of Facilities. I'm sure you probably already know, over our Urban Ministry, and I've been here for 8 years. During the past year and now, I can say that facilities continue to evolve right along during this whole pandemic. Since COVID hit, I can say that I've been on ground since day one, from ordering PPE supplies, picking up PPE supplies, fostering protocols and procedures for entering in the building, ensuring the safetyness of our staff and also our visitors and contractors. And while all this was happening, I'm just astonished by the amount of work that was accomplished through facilities and on our grounds. And we'll now see a slideshow, which will show you what's been happening during this time. As you see, this is just an image of the driveway, our landscaping, what was done last year, and it's still happening now. So this is just a brief image, and you'll see the finale soon come. And we can go on to the next slide. And on this slide, as you can see, I mean, I was honored to be on the grounds just watching. I took all these images that you see, that you're gonna see here, just seeing our contractors just working hands-on from beginning to the end. I think it was just an honor being able to document everything. This here is just the middle part of our facilities on the parking lot. If you haven't came over to Urban Ministry within the past year, if you do come down, you would see that this space has transformed to a new space. We can go on to the next slide. So these images is just kind of pretty much showing you the transformation. Again, you probably won't see what's happening now, while these images are from the end of April. We're now going into June. So if you come now, you'll notice that we have the transformation is completely different from the pictures that you see here. This is just an image of me capturing our historic gates being done over, put in, installed over the driveway on Roxbury Street. And this is just the finishing product of the gates being installed. If you, as I said, if you come onto the ground, you'll notice that it's just lovely. You're able to come in through Dudley Street and come out to Roxbury Street instead of going around as we did before. So this is just also an image of the back door. If you know where the parking lot is, where the dumpsters are located, the back doors where they actually created new steps to get into the back way of Urban Ministry. And as you see here is the transformation. As you see how they, just lovely, how they put the bricks down, the steps, and there are railings to go down into the back way to enter into our facility. And now we go on to our Peace Garden. Now our Peace Garden was also something that was happening during this whole time with our contractors, just trying to create a therapeutic and relaxing place that people can attend or come to, and still trying to shepherd on how this space is going to look in the future. As we know before, this is what it previously looked like. Unfortunately, our Urban Ministry sign is no longer there. But when you do come there, you will notice that the transformation there, I don't think you'll even notice that the sign is not there anymore. Just a few more images on before. As I said, before doesn't show much. You have to actually just come in and actually see the transformation. This is just a little outline of the drawings that they put there from what the pathways would look like and what the finishing product will look like. Just a couple more images that I captured just watching our contractors, just build this beautiful space. As I said, I was able to document everything and just be able to be there and just wait for the finishing product to happen. Just a couple of more images here. As I said, this is up to April. So you're not able to see, what this transformed into. And this here is just a walkway, an access path to get to the back of the Peace Garden. But this image was actually an image that was before they actually created the bricks that you've seen before this image. So that was just kind of a drawing for that. The same you see here, which is pretty much the layout of the before pictures of the bricks that they laid out for This here is actually going to be a seating area. So they actually already have that part created. And just a couple of more images from the window, just looking down and seeing what was happening. As you see all the things laid out from the previous images, the drawings that they had is just pretty much what you see here. It says completed hardscape, but it's actually a little bit more completed than this. So again, I think as of June, you guys, June 25th, I think, or by the end of the summer, we'll have a better completion of this. Just a few more images of access paths that will take you over to the Peace Garden. And just as it says here, redbud trees were planted. As of now, they're actually growing, which actually requires a lot of maintaining to keep it growing, which we're working on now. So looking forward to the results of that. So if you do come in and see, there is a beautiful image of the skyline from the garden. So the rocks that you see in the sitting area, if you sit there, you actually can see the skyline of Boston, which is beautiful. Looking forward to using this space for, different events that we can have. And thank you to Jean Krasner and Malini Walsh for actually shepherding this and being the co-chairs of the Peace Garden Committee. Okay. Thank you. And I would say that I wasn't sure, I guess images of our lovely Renewal house I didn't see during this video, but I can say that, I was asked to take on this project, and thank you again to, Franklin Square for actually being able to provide this grant for us to renovate the shelter. And I can say I was asked to take this on. I took this on with grace, and I am just excited to see our residents come in and see the new lively, bright, welcoming space. I mean, I put a lot into picking out paint, buying sinks, and selecting colors, ordering furniture, making sure all the appliances. I think that's when my previous finance role of urban ministry kicked in, making sure all the appliances were purchased on sale, so that we were able to purchase blinds and be able to paint the bedrooms. Oh, here we go. So these are just a few images of, again, having my hard hat on, being hands-on, coordinating with our contractors as they install the new cabinets. Picking out the cabinet colors was a process, picking out the paint. But again, it worked. And I'm excited to know that, I put my all into it, and I'm just happy to have the residents come to a new welcoming space, a bright space. Yeah. And this is just the finishing product. This is the finishing product of what the cabinets look like, the appliance that's put in. Unfortunately, there's not pictures of the living room area, but again, I had documented everything from beginning to end from the time that the cabinets were taken out. And I'm excited again, as I said, for our residents to come in to see the new space. Thank you, everybody. And I would like to end this by saying, I would love, love, love to give a special thanks to everyone at Urban Ministry. I would also like to give a special thanks to my facility team. I would say my facility team, we haven't missed a beat. Haven't missed a beat since last year, since COVID started, with upkeeping of the campus grounds. So I want to give a special thank you to Milton and Brian for stepping in when needed. And this past year, I can say allowed opportunities to reinvent and redefine the work that we do, as I called the new world. So thank you, everybody, and I will pass it on to Peter. I apologize. I pass
No
it on.
worries, no worries.
I apologize, everyone. I pass it on to Roxanne Coker. Sorry, Roxanne. Roxanne Clark, I apologize.
That's okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Roxanne Clark, and I am part of the Civil Engagement team. I have the pleasure of talking about how our organization stayed connected to our communities during a very difficult time in our country. We have been faced with two pandemics, COVID-19 and a racial injustice pandemic. Both of these have significantly impacted our neighbors and our staff. The community engagement team worked hard to find ways to show our continuous support and commitment to communities and congregations we partner with. The community engagement team developed peace gatherings in collaboration with Reverend Joe and Dr. Angela from Page Academy. These gatherings offered folks a song, a poem, and a sense of peace when the world didn't feel so peaceful. We also developed a virtual program called Community Conversations. Community Conversations highlight the history, art, and experiences of Black and Indigenous people of color. These conversations provide an opportunity to raise awareness around some of the issues that plague the residents of color in Boston neighborhoods. These conversations also provide information on how to support local organizations in the work they are doing to help people of color and the demand for justice. In addition, we have created community commercials, showcasing local businesses owned by people of color in the Boston area. In an effort to engage our congregations, we also created a commitment minute. This is a 1-minute segment in which congregations speak about their work and commitment to the racial justice and equity. These commercials and commitment minutes are shown during the community conversations. Lately, in the midst of all of this great work, the team found time to package and deliver food to some of our neighborhood seniors. At this time, we will show you a snapshot of the community conversations.
What drew you to First Church in Roxbury?
There is no institution in Roxbury as old as the First Church Roxbury that is sitting on the same ground it's always sat on.
What would you tell us would be the good trouble the urban ministry should actually get into?
John Lewis knew where First Church was because you invited him. To have people from all over the country and activists all over the country and the world be invited to just come.
Because racism is a cancer, and racism as it impacts folks through economics has to be eliminated like one would find a cure for COVID.
Before, this is an audience that is about action, and they want to know what it is that we can do.
We got to get away from using dismissive language like, white fragility, and understand that that is people reacting to their canons being fractured or disrupted.
Our home, our family home back then was taken, and it was demolished, and we were homeless. That's when the disinvestment actually started, and so redlining and the like.
Organizing to figure out how they were going to take property. So there were 3 waves of gentrification in Boston. The first one where the economic fabric was destroyed by removing the businesses, families were destroyed, community stability was destroyed, and over 2,200 homes and buildings were destroyed.
You are going to tear down the Harriet Tubman House that sits on parcel 17, which was given to the Black community due to the atrocities of urban renewal, then we have a problem.
To have this robotic class and competition, but we're the only elementary school that's there. They said that the elementary school couldn't be in it. So we protested and they changed the verdict and they said, okay, you all can be in it. And our kids were the youngest kids there. They won first prize, second prize, and third prize. That was the first year. But now we haven't won since then because now the older kids were so mad that these little kids from elementary school had won all 3 prizes, that since that year when they come, those kids are really strong. So see how it rippled? Oh, we're never gonna let them beat us again like that. And so they worked so hard.
The Jim Crow laws and all of these laws were passed, which really were the genesis or the reason or the rationale for the creating of both the NAACP and the Urban League. Interesting enough, if folks don't know the history, the organization was formed by whites and blacks that were here. The first president of the Boston branch was Moorfield Story, who was white.
But Les, you may remember this. There was a time when we couldn't get any money. We had so little money. And Henry came over and he had a conversation with me. And he said, Earl, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I have to give up the dream. And I said, hell no, Henry, you are not gonna give up this dream. We're gonna get the money. I know we're gonna get the money.
All of this great production, living, learning, and teaching.
Can I add something? Everyone gives credit to Ken Burns for thinking how we do documentaries. It was Henry.
Right.
Dr. Martin, in listening to you talk about institutionalized racism, and you often will hear people talk about dismantling racism. What does that look like? And you started to touch on it a little bit when you spoke about policies. If you had to kind of lay out a plan for dismantling, removing it, what would those 3 to 5 steps look like for organizations to begin that process? And I know it's much more complicated than 5 steps, but at least I'm wondering, what would that look like for an agency to begin that process?
Get your act together and start giving such long answers. I got you.
No, that's not it. No.
For us to do this work well, there's a level of humility involved. There's a level of vulnerability involved in flipping the mirror around from everybody else, right? Because that's kind of how we do, that's how in a lot of people's minds what racial equity and social justice work is, right? I have to call out this person because they said this, and I have to do this. Well, you're not doing this and they're not doing that. And the heaviest lift is to flip the mirror around and be looking at ourselves.
Thank you to the Community Engagement team, and thank you for listening to the Community Engagement Update. And at this time, Bithia Israel, our Social Justice Fellow, will share our Arts and Humanities update.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Roxanne. I'm Bithia Israel, Social Justice Fellow for the Arts and Humanities. And I'd like to take a moment to thank so many of you for the warm reception that you have given to our virtual content. And also I'd like to thank Reverend Mary Margaret for modeling calm and open leadership during a very trying year, making space for invention and continuing to offer support in the midst of these turbulent, uncertain times. So I'm honored to be part of the team. Over the past year, we've continued telling powerful artist stories through our virtual gallery series and highlighting local businesses through our commercials featuring entrepreneurs of color. Our production of these videos has provided free marketing products for artists and businesses to share with their networks. This demonstrates the Urban Ministry's commitment to support and strengthen Roxbury commerce in meaningful ways, addressing economic and racial justice. Artists and business owners have responded with a lot of appreciation. The greatest impact has been through the artist videos. These videos have created a growing interest for other venues, such as art galleries and UU member congregations, to host artists of color in additional in-person and virtual events. As a result, additional income for artists in the form of stipends and/or sales occurs during these events. The Urban Ministry also hosted an artist panel discussion last month, which I moderated, entitled Making Art and Making Change, a timely event addressing artists' contributions during changing times. These recorded events and virtual galleries continue to be available on our YouTube channel and on our website, allowing us to revisit these thought-provoking discussions on the Roxbury experience, how it relates to an expansive landscape, and what opportunities we all have to make a real difference in supporting our collective success as a community and society at large. Here is a quote from an artist in response to this initiative, which we have named the Artist Amplification Project. They say, "I feel that this was one of the best initiatives that has happened to help artists gain exposure. It also draws attention to the fact that there are many people of color who are not really recognized for the creative work they do." End quote. In a recent survey of the artists who we have featured, we learned that although this is a new initiative, some artists have seen $150 to $500 of additional income through our efforts. This is not the case for all artists we've highlighted, but we hope that this will become a trend as our virtual and in-person events are attended by more people. In winter 2020, we published our first edition of a directory highlighting 17 artists of color. We are in the process of publishing the second spring 2021 edition this month. 26 artists are featured in this coming edition. Businesses that we've highlighted in commercials are Haley House Cafe, Suya Joint, Frugal Bookstore, Soleil Restaurant, Final Touch Boutique, and all of these businesses are located right in Roxbury. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tamika and welcome to Suya Joint. Our location here in Boston is 185 Dudley Street in Roxbury. Involve ourselves in the community in any way, shape, or form that we can. Partnering with World Central Kitchen, we do offer gift certificates. You can buy that here or online.
Welcome to Haley House. My name is Misha. Come on in. You can visit us at 12 Dade Street, right in the heart of Nubian Square. Find gift cards, retail products, and ground coffee right online. We also do delivery.
Final touch with class.
My wife just says I got an idea. Hey, what about a boutique accessory store?
Haris, our son, who is really the one who does all of the very fashionable windows.
Now, if you'll follow me this way, I can show you more. I love this. This color is called Fawn. This is another vegan leather. www.finaltouchwithclass.com. So please come join us.
Hello, my name is Chef Cheryl. I own Soleil Restaurant. We are located at 2306 Washington Street in the heart of Nubian Square. And Soleil is named after my granddaughter. And in French, Soleil is the term that is used for the sun. Southern with a twist. And our collard greens, I used smoked paprika. We are open Monday through Friday.
Welcome to Frugal Bookstore in
famous Nubian Square. My name is Leonard Egerton. I'm one of the owners along with my wife Clarissa.
Hi everyone, my name is Clarissa Cropper Egerton and I am one of the co-owners of Frugal Bookstore. Welcome. Sure. So right now we have our children's corner, hardcover children's books, our toddler section. So we have a bunch of board books, our children's Latinx section. Over here we have our nonfiction section. We have autobiography sections against the wall here. We have history section. In the front we have like current events. We have sports biography, music biography. We also carry Bibles.
And Qurans.
And Qurans.
To order online, all you have to do is just go to frugalbookstore.net, please. The mission of Frugal Bookstore is to change minds one book at a time and to increase the literacy in our community. You missed it. No. You missed it. I'm a star.
Well, thank you. And I want to thank the staff for your presentations tonight, and even more importantly, for the devotion, resourcefulness, and persistence that you've demonstrated over this past year. It's because of you that our programs and services adapted to meet the needs of their participants during COVID, and even grew and expanded to address old and new challenges. We salute you and thank you. Just before we start on the business portion of our meeting, I just want to acknowledge that this is a very weird format, Zoom, to do this kind of session. I wished we were together and could be seeing what Shamika was showing us on the video, and really see our grounds and see the transformation ourselves. And I wish we could be together where the buzz of meeting new and seeing familiar faces could be all around us. And just to create just a little piece of that, I just want to take a minute. There are, I believe, at least 31 congregations represented here tonight. And so in place of not being able to see each other, let me just rattle those off, and you can imagine that there are more than 80 of you together in this annual meeting. So let me just quickly: Arlington Street, Belmont, Boston, Brookline, Chestnut Hill, Cohasset, Concord, Dorchester, Duxbury, Fallon, Framingham, Harvard, Hingham, Kingston, Lexington, Lincoln, Medfield, Milton, Needham, Newton, Norwell, Quincy, Scituate, Sharon, Theodore Parker, Wellesley, Weston, Wayland, and Winchester. There might be a few others, but that's what I was able to pick off of the participants list. And I just hope that just creates just a little bit of energy as we move into the business part of the meeting. Joining me is Carol Troyan-Lowy, who has served as our chair of our nominating committee, and she's going to present the report of the nominating committee. And I just should add, Carol's going to unmute herself, and I'm just going to tell people that in the chat is a link to the delegate packet, where all the materials for tonight's meeting are located. Vinnie Miles sent that to all of us on May 10th. If you don't have it handy and want it now, although we're going to show everything on the screen, but if you are curious and want to see the delegate packet and see all this for yourself, you can click there. Carol.
Thanks, Carla. Good evening, everybody. I'm Carol Lowy, a member of the nominating committee. On behalf of the entire committee, it is my honor and pleasure to present for your approval a roster of nominees for delegates at large, members of the board of directors, and for next year's nominating committee. First, I'm going to read the slate for delegates at large, and Carla, our board chair, will call for a vote so that the delegates at large may vote along with the rest of you for the other nominees. Then I will read the nominees for the board of directors and for the nominating committee for 2021 to 2022. We'll take one vote from the floor to approve the full roster of candidates. So here we go. Please accept these nominations for delegates at large for the 2022 fiscal year. Mr. Larry Benningson, Ms. Marcia Buttman, Mr. Peter Coccoluto, Mr. Alan Cody, Ms. Kayla Drumgold, Reverend John Hickey, Mr. Marshall Hughes, Mr. Brian Keith, Ms. Jean Krasnow, Mr. Derek Lumpkins, Ms. Marissa Luce, Ms. Christine Nelson, Ms. Michelle Porter, Mr. Douglas Putaz, and Ms. Lisa Snellings. Carla, over to you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to elect the delegates at large as recommended by the nominating committee?
So moved.
I second.
Thank you very much. Hearing a motion and a second, the poll comes up and I would invite our participants to vote yes, no, or abstain. Just click on one of those and then at the bottom, click submit, and we will have your official votes.
The results are in. The vote has passed.
Terrific. Thank you. Carol, you have more recommendations.
I do, and I'd like to ask the delegates to accept these nominations for the board of directors. One individual who is a returning board member, that's me, and 3 individuals who will be new to the board, and very exciting. Among our new board members are 2 alumna of the Roxbury Youth Program. We're very excited to welcome them. Candidates serving currently on the Urban Ministry Board of Directors, term to expire 2024, Carol, Troy, and Lowy. New candidates to the Urban Ministry Board of Directors, terms to expire in 2030, Kayla Drumgold, Marissa Luce, and Michelle Porter.
And Carol, do you want to at the same time to do the nominating committee?
Okay, even more efficient. And for the nominating committee, we present for your approval the following. Our terms are 1 year. Reverend John Hickey, Marshall Hughes, Carol Lowy, and Derek Lumpkins.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the recommendations of the nominating committee for board of director and nominating committee?
Motion.
I second.
Thank you. And the poll is up, so please vote. And we are waiting to hear the results.
Results have just come in. This vote has also passed.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, the nominating committee. This is great work. Really appreciate it. And I just want to point out that Derek and Alan have joined me on the screen. Derek is the clerk for the board, and Alan is the treasurer. And Alan will be making a report a little bit later. So let us move now to the approval of the minutes from last year's annual meeting. You can find them on pages 5 and 6 of the delegate packet. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Thank you. And a second? Alan, you're going to unmute yourself so I can officially hear it, right?
I second the motion.
Great. And the poll is up. The vote is up.
The results are in. The vote has passed.
Terrific. Thank you. And I think I'm turning it over to Alan now. Yes.
Okay.
For our treasurer's report.
I'll wait till the slides come up. Well, I'll start out. Greetings, everyone. I bring you greetings from our finance team, very able team, including Mary Margaret, our Director of Finance, Rachel Shapiro, our Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, and our Investment Subcommittee, very ably led by John Hickey, which is responsible for managing our investment portfolio. So next slide, please. So You have these numbers in your annual report, so I won't dwell on them except to say that we've had a good year due to hard work and quick reaction to the crisis that we went through in the last year, and our revenue, as you can see, has exceeded our expenses. The revenue, of course, includes some draw from our investment funds, but not the entire budgeted draw. We're in a good position now, and I'll elaborate in a minute, but expenses have been very well managed. However, as you can see, we've reached the size of an organization where we need to invest in some things for the future, including administrative staff and additional staff for managing our very important relationships, managing and deepening our very important relationships with the community. So we're very grateful for everyone who worked on this. And if we can move to the next slide, I'll go into just a few details. Our revenue exceeded expectations. We had very good support, as you can see, from individuals, church congregations, and board members, which collectively increased 14% over the last fiscal year. And I just want to say, on behalf of everyone who works with me in finance, and I'm the treasurer and member of the board, we're very, very grateful for this support. It's enabled us to keep going and to do the things we needed to do in the last year. I'm especially grateful, we all are, to the wonderful work Rachel Shapiro did in a very short period of time to enable us to receive one of the Paycheck Protection loans in late April 2020, and enabled us to later on, several months later, to have that loan forgiven and be an outright grant. We received emergency funding from a number of sources to help us, particularly with our clients at Renewal House, and support for participants in Believe in Success. As you can see, we obtained a number of grants. And again, thank you to Mary Margaret and the entire team for moving so quickly to apply for and receive these grants. And the next slide, please. Just a few words about the strategies here. As I mentioned, we're going to increase our administrative support, and that will enable our development team to increase their efficiency and impact on our revenue. We're going to continue to focus a lot on individual donor communication and relationship development, particularly with direct requests for major gifts. And as you probably have gathered by now from the very excellent presentations by our program leaders, stronger, measurable program outcomes that will enable us to be more successful in getting grants, meeting grant applications. Next slide, please. In terms of expenses for this year, what really went on was we experienced higher expenses for Renewal House, many of which were covered by emergency grants and government funding. And those were offset by lower expenses for John Elliott Corporation because we weren't using the building as much as we normally do. We had also in some areas lower than budgeted payroll and benefits. And I particularly laud our staff and Mary Margaret for recognizing very early on, because we were working remotely, that we had to invest in additional technology to be sure that everyone on our staff was equally able to work from home. So higher expenses in some areas, lower in others. And speaking from our Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, Mary Margaret and Rachel were very good in presenting us with regular reports about where we were running over on expenses and where we were running under, so that we could be confident that they were being very well managed, which they were. Next slide, please. In terms of going forward, we're going to, our staff and managers are well trained in managing their program budgets and in identifying additional needs. And I will mention that our Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee meets every time there's a board meeting beforehand. We review expenses and revenue against budget as a committee normally would. And Mary Margaret in particular is very well and very engaged in that process and is very helpful in explaining things and gives us considerable confidence in how the staff is performing. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to invest in some new administrative staff and some staff for community engagement. And the building is not yet open, but we certainly hope it will be. And I just speaking personally, I hope that next year I will be able to see all of you at this meeting in person. Moving right along to the next slide. These are our invested funds, some of which are endowment in the sense that they are restricted as to how we can spend them, but the majority of them are not, much of which resulted from the sale of our property, Bethany House. And we actually began in November 2017 investing. We have Morgan Stanley managing these funds for us. And I should mention our investment subcommittee meets at least quarterly and reviews Morgan Stanley's performance. And so we started with them in November 2017 with about $17.5 million total, broken down into several different funds. And as you can see, not surprisingly, at the end of April last year, we were down, and then we came back up to a little over 20 million, and this number bounces around, of course, a lot. And the $20,492,000 number, as you can see, includes income, but it is after fees and after disbursements or withdrawals for support of our programs. And so the 20.4 million, almost 20.5 million compared to the 17.5 since we started in 2017 has grown on net by well more than the rate of inflation. And that's one basic goal that we very much want to accomplish with our investment funds. Next slide, please. Going forward, as you've probably seen during the presentations, we have ongoing capital projects and some in the future, and especially the renovation of the interior of the meeting house, which is extremely important for expanding our community engagement. And so I won't go through all of these in detail, but I put them up here to give you a complete perspective in that we had a good year last year. We made some money, but we've got expenses going forward. And yes, we have an investment portfolio that's increased. So we have work to do, but we think we're in a strong position to achieve it. And again, I want to thank everyone on the staff and especially our finance team and all of you from the congregations who support us. It's really very important to us. And we're all very proud of the urban ministry and look forward to working to advance these numbers. And probably our next big project will be to prepare a long-range financial projection so we can make choices as we need to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. It feels so good as board chair to have such a diligent, knowledgeable, and devoted treasurer and chair of the Budget, Finance, and Audit.
I meant to reintroduce you, Carla.
No problem.
And I would be very remiss as a board member if I did not say how much we appreciate your leadership and your caring and attention to the whole board and also to each individual member. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks, Alan.
Now we're going to turn to a special piece of business for this annual meeting. Approval of the board's recommendation to change the bylaws to reflect an updated understanding of our mission and vision. You've seen the details of the resolution on page 7 of the delegate packet, and it is here. And I know Mary Margaret would like to make a few comments.
Yes, thank you, Carla. This is one of those moments where I do wish I could see, again, the delegates in person, but it was a joy over the past several weeks to be able to see you via Zoom and meet with you and talk with you about the work and the process that the board has undertaken over this past year to come to a proposed new vision and mission. You were able to experience what that process was like, a shortened experience of what the board had undertaken in talking with Roxbury community leaders, with the urban ministry staff, with you, our delegates, and with ministers. And I really valued and appreciated your attendance at those meetings, your questions, your care, and it all reminded me of the abundant possibilities that dwell in our connections across Greater Boston. So thank you for all your engagement in what is coming before you this evening.
Great, thank you, Mary Margaret. And I want to make special mention of my board colleagues in this work. It has been a journey, an important one, and one that every board member, to which every board member brought their best selves. So I want to just acknowledge our board members, Marcia Buttman, Reverend Catherine Cullen, Reverend Dave Egan, Reverend John Hickey, Marshall Hughes, Jean Krasnow, Doug Putas, and Lisa Snellings, who are here, and our outgoing board members, George Whitehouse and David Harris, our vice chair, outgoing vice chair of the board. So with that, I'm going to read. I think I have officially to read this. Whereas the board of directors of the UU Urban Ministry deems it to be in the best interests of the corporation that the bylaws be amended to include an updated vision and mission statement. Whereas the board of directors has undertaken a lengthy strategic planning process that included listening to the voices of Roxbury residents, urban ministry staff, UU ministers, and delegates. And whereas the board has determined that a new vision and mission statement will enable the urban ministry to better fulfill its purpose and have a greater impact in working for justice in Greater Boston. Now, therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to applicable law and the bylaws of the corporation, the delegates hereby consent to approve and adopt the following. Article 2, purpose of the bylaws of the corporation is hereby amended to delete such Article 2 in its entirety and replace with the following. Article 2, vision and mission. Vision, we envision a greater Boston where all people live with freedom and dignity and have equitable access to resources and opportunity to shape the present and the future. Mission, the urban ministry. We work across race and place to dismantle racism and white supremacy culture and to advance racial, economic, and social justice. Be it further resolved that all other provisions of the bylaws as adopted shall remain in effect and the foregoing amendments shall be incorporated into the bylaws of the corporation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Derek. And a second, I believe I just heard from Alan. So we have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution, and I believe the poll will go up any minute. We're going to get an actual vote for this one. We want to be able to record for posterity the actual vote. So that'll take a little bit of a minute. And I just, while we're waiting for those results, I just want to say that for the last several years, when we walk into the urban ministry and we walk by Shamika Harrison's office, if we're heading to Mary Margaret's office, we see a quote on the wall by Lilla Watson, and it says on it, I just lost the quote, sorry. You know what it is, Mary
If you
Margaret.
have come here to
Thank you.
help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together.
Yes. So I think this vision and mission carries forward that affirmation and that belief. So I think Derek, I think you may be able to report results.
Yes, the results are in. Unfortunately, I can't turn on my video, but I'm happy to report them just with audio only.
Perfect.
I have yes at 75 votes for yes and 1 abstention.
Great. So thank you. We have a new vision and a mission. And yes, so we're very excited about that. And the work ahead will be to live that vision and mission.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, board, for all your work. Thank you, staff, for your sharing your perspective. Thank you, delegates, for sharing, and thank you for this affirmation. I am so excited to continue our work together. And I wish we were in the meeting house so we could all hoot and holler together, because
That's right.
It's a lot of work that's gone into this, and a wonderful affirmation with your vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we turn now to the board report, and I want to respect your time, so let me be very brief. With your adoption of our new vision and mission statement tonight, our attention will turn to bringing it fully to life. We will be engaging staff, delegates, and community representatives in the year ahead to begin the work of aligning programming and budget. It's an exciting time for the urban ministry, not least of which because of the leadership of our resourceful, imaginative, and skillful senior minister and executive director, the Reverend Mary Margaret Earl, who is beginning, is this believable, seventh year? Seventh year at the helm. On behalf of the board and everyone attending this annual meeting, thank you, Mary Margaret, for your inspired leadership. And I know there are lots of people going like this at home, yay, yay, yay. And thank you, delegates, for the many ways in which you are working to sustain and deepen your embrace of the urban ministry and its mission. While so much remains for us to do to make our world more just and loving, we are so honored to have you doing the exciting, challenging, and important work of the UU Urban Ministry with us. Thank you. And now we have a couple of appreciations. And I want to start with outgoing board member George Whitehouse, who I know is among the attendees. George, this is a message of appreciation that comes from all of your colleagues on the board, and certainly from Mary Margaret as well. Reverend George Whitehouse was appointed minister at large at the Arlington Street Church under the Reverend Jack Mendelson in 1969. And 52 years later, he continues to serve in that role. I met George at Arlington Street some 30 years ago, and it was from George that I first learned about the UU Urban Ministry. As a community minister, George has been one of Greater Boston's most engaged UU activists for social justice and has served on countless boards, ranging from the UU History and Heritage Society to Parents Helping Parents to Bethany Union for Young Women. George's foresight and generosity of spirit made it possible for the urban ministry to acquire Bethany House and then in 2017 to sell it. Its sale and George's insistence that a portion of the proceeds from the sale be untouched and allowed to grow for at least 10 years has made it possible for the urban ministry to establish a firm financial foundation for expanded and more focused programming many, many years into the future. George, we thank you and we honor you. And so we're imagining everybody is doing that. And then David Harris, and I think David, you're as outgoing vice chair, you're a panelist, so I think you can turn your video on so that folks can see you. Super.
Hey.
Hi, David. David has served as the vice chair of the board, and a chair could have no better vice chair. So Dr. David Harris, our board vice chair for the past 3 years, is retiring next month from his role as managing director of the Charles Hamilton Houston Institute for Race and Justice at Harvard Law School. David was the founding executive director of the Fair Housing Center of Greater Boston and is also the former president of the board of the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities. Perhaps most importantly for the urban ministry, David is the grandson of one of the earliest Unitarian ministers of color, Louis McGee, founder of the Interracial Free Religious Fellowship in Chicago's post-war South Side, and one of 2 Black UU ministers profiled in Dr. Mark Morrison Reed's book, Black Pioneers in a White Denomination. David's service on our board, he has told me, has been in part to honor his grandfather, with whom he was very close. Reverend McGee has been described as a quiet, gentle man of deep conviction, intelligence, and insight, with a chuckly sense of humor, often visibly repressed. David, you too are a quiet, gentle man of deep conviction, insight, and wisdom, and you too have that chuckly sense of humor that you sometimes let shine through. Thank you for the gifts you have so generously and modestly shared with us. You have served your grandfather's memory with distinction. Thank you. And Mary Margaret, I know, yes, David.
I just said thank you, Carla, and to the entire board, and to Mary Margaret, and to George especially. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sending our love to David and George and gratitude. And thank you, Carla, for capturing so perfectly the gifts and contributions they have made to this organization. I want to just say a couple of more words of gratitude. You were able to hear from many of our wonderful staff members, and I'm sure that you are appreciating them as much as I do and understand why it is a gift and a blessing to be able to work at the Urban Ministry. I did want to mention a few people who weren't present or didn't have a speaking part or weren't mentioned as much, but who helped make everything that we do possible. You did hear Rachel Shapiro, our finance director, mentioned. She managed a particularly complicated year for us and kept everything running so smoothly. I want to honor and appreciate my colleague, Monique Marshall-Veal, who is my partner in community conversations, but was also a truth teller behind the scenes and is always working to help our organization become a more just and honest organization. And I'm grateful to her. And I want to especially lift up tonight our new manager of development and communications, Vinnie Miles, who joined us very recently in the midst of a pandemic and was given the gift of managing this whole annual meeting, and I'm doing it by webinar. He and his extraordinary team, Nora Sullivan, Annie Stubbs, and Greg Friedman, all made tonight quite extraordinary, and I'm really grateful for all that they did quietly behind the scenes to tee this up. And thank you to our delegates for sharing your lives with us and for sharing a beautiful spring evening because you care about this work, and this work is important, and we have a lot of work ahead to do together. So thank you. And my parting words are just go out in faith, go out in believing in the work that we can do together, go out with courage, and go out with self-love and self-care too. Go in peace. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Mary Margaret. May I have a motion to adjourn this 186th annual meeting of the Urban Ministry?
Motion.
Thank you, Derek.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Alan. And I'm going to assume that everyone is going to vote yes, so I don't even think we have to put a poll up there. I can hear it through Zoom. I can hear the yeses as we depart with our great appreciation for your presence tonight. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. See you soon.
Good night. All right.
A few more people still.